Every year, over 1 billion migratory birds set out on the avian superhighway known as the Pacific Flyway. For thousands of years, they've followed this ancestral route dotted with crucial pit stops. California's Central Valley has lost 95% of its wetlands, imperiling the migratory birds who depend on them to rest and refuel. The Nature Conservancy, Audubon, California, and Point Blue Conservation Science joined with government partners and the local farming community to hatch a plan. Their solution created thousands of acres of habitat where and when migratory birds need it most.
BirdReturns is an incentive program that works with private landowners, such as farmers and wetland owners, to support them in incorporating bird-friendly practices on their properties. California is right smack dab in the center of one of the most important parts of the Pacific Flyway. It's a critical resting spot for birds as they continue on this journey. And although a lot of habitat was lost, the birds are still migrating, and they still rely on stopping in the Central Valley to rest and refuel.
There's a fundamental mismatch between when shorebirds need habitat and when it's available on the landscape. Water in California is scarce and it's becoming more expensive.
And that's why BirdReturns is so important, because it's working with landowners to not rebuild wetlands, but to use the wetlands we have and enhance and amplify their ability to provide habitat when the birds need it the most.
One of the real sort of key components of BirdReturns is that engagement with the private landowner. We can do all this conservation on public lands, but really if we can get private landowners to take a lead role in sort of creating habitat and growing that footprint of habitat, I think we're in even better shape.
BirdReturns has worked with over 200 growers and private wetland managers to create 180,000 acres of temporary habitat and has generated over $6 million in direct payments to participants. When we help birds, they help us by controlling pests and dispersing seeds, which in turn supports a healthy environment across the Central Valley.
We needed a more dynamic and flexible program, and so BirdReturns began working with staff from the Rice Commission and with several growers to build a program that is flexible and dynamic and works for farmers and can work for the birds as well.
The field management practices that we're asked to do are a perfect fit for what our fields need that time of year. We're not being asked to do anything outrageous. What we're being asked to do are just good, solid practices for our rice straw decomp that just so happens to be perfect for the birds too. The first year we set the field up, we thought, okay, now what? Did the birds just show up? I think it was the first morning after the field was just getting some water across it. It had flooded overnight, and I come upon a field full of shorebirds.
Thinking back, when I first learned about the BirdReturns program, I was curious about it and skeptical at the same time, wondering what the opportunities would be. Managing any land's a big responsibility. We have the opportunity to raise a crop, contribute to feeding the world, and benefit wildlife at the same time. The way that the BirdReturns program has helped us to fine-tune what we're doing is probably what has made me the most proud.
We're working closely with growers to identify the practices that we can implement, but we're also leveraging the best available science and the most innovative data that we can find to really help us target as accurately as we can where that habitat will give us the best return on investment. We're getting more and more data that's telling us how successful we're being. 10 years on, we're doing it better than ever.
We see BirdReturns as a really important component of reaching conservation objectives that would otherwise be difficult to reach. We're really looking forward to seeing how the project grows. We can potentially expand this to other crop types that would open up a lot more acreages across the landscape that could be used for migratory bird habitat.
It's really exciting to be part of the expansion of the BirdReturns program into a larger variety of field crops. There's so many acres in California. We can really expand the habitat that is available earlier in the season where some other crops in the past haven't been able to meet the needs at that time of year.
Today, BirdReturns is building on a decade of incredible progress as we expand to new crop types and geographies and employ innovative management activities. That means supporting more birds and partnering with more growers and wetland managers to protect California's natural heritage for generations to come.
And last year, for the first time, we were able to hit the 13,000 acres that we need in spring. And we've basically quadrupled our program. We started a crane program last year for the greater sandhill crane.
As opposed to our shorebird work, the crane program is in the winter. So we're able to have growers involved in bird returns throughout the entire overwintering period.
One of the last droughts, 60% of the habitat came from bird returns, and on some days, the only habitat was provided by these incentive programs like Bird Returns.
As Bird Returns enters its second decade, it's really more important than ever. As droughts become more frequent, our ability to work with growers, to keep growers farming, is going to be critical to providing that wildlife habitat that's really needed.
Anytime you can find some money that can help you stretch your dollars to do more for habitat and wildlife, that's kind of a no-brainer, huh? Without wildlife and without wild things, so too we will go, without a question.
My vision is that not only can we maintain our baseline populations of shorebirds, we can also help those species start to recover. For any of that to happen, we need continued and even expanded funding.
Every dollar invested in bird returns is also an investment in water sustainability, biodiversity, and the resilience of the Central Valley.
I want to see all those birds that used to come here to the Central Valley coming back year after year. I want to see populations of waterfowl increasing. I want to see populations of shorebirds increasing. And I want to see the farmers that are out here providing that habitat still on the landscape with their families farming those lands.